All right, everyone, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today here. So markets down a little bit. So spiders down a little over 1%, and Q's just getting down 1%, although we are bouncing now off the lows. Take a look at where we're bouncing and actually seeing some action here, getting a little excited. We were pinned all day long to 444 on the SPY, which is where we've been, really the last 3 days, really the last 5 days. But we are, guess where we're getting a bounce? Right here into our favorite trend line, right? So that's finally getting tagged. I've been waiting, the better part of the last 2 weeks for this. I've been saying, look, let's break down here. We want to flush this, right? I want to see a flush into that trend line so that we can get an actual bounce here started. We have not done that. We just kind of grinded down here, which ultimately I think makes it a little bit weaker. You want to see, if you're going to look for a dip buy, you want to be as oversold as possible going into a level. And we are into the 50 MA, although we did kiss it last Friday. And that 444 area, obviously the trend line here, we did essentially kiss all these areas on Friday. But, right, we kind of just grinded around. You almost can make a case we put in a little bit of a micro kind of bear flag type look, and then we went down and touched it. It's not like we came from here and then, went straight down. That would be an easy, obvious dip buy, right? But now we're kind of coming down. We are getting a little bit of a bounce off of that. We'll see if that's enough. Today, this morning we had some really, and I mean really weak data out of China. It's basically deflation there right now. And we had some hot retail sales here in the U.S., which gave bonds a little bit of a shock this morning, but they did come off the lows. But yesterday, we gapped down today and we erased all of that move. Even though we're bouncing here off the lows, we've erased that entire move. So is the bounce canceled? I don't know. If we do push down, again, there's still some support around 440, 438. I think you get down there, that's probably good enough for buyers to come in, especially with the August volume, summer doldrums type volume. But this is going to be a very tricky week to trade. It is OPEX. Volume's light. There's a lot of traders on vacation. Look at the volume here. Market's closing in about 2 minutes. We're only at 60 million shares on a 1% down day. That's very unusual. Usually if you're at 1% down day, you're at 100 million shares. Like these days right here, we had 92 million, 100 million, somewhere in that area on those big down days. Look at this though. Look at how dead it was. Just a pin, total pin job all day long. And then they were able to knock it down on really 1.5 million shares. It did not cost much for them to push this lower here. And then, of course, we're coming up on just as light a volume, although, of course, the last 10 minutes, there's always that pop there. But again, be careful here. There's going to be a lot of whipsaw tomorrow. They call it Whipsaw Wednesday for a reason. So expect lots of shakeouts. Rallies will be sold off, rallies will be sold off, and dips can get bought. So just be careful here. I'd like to see more of a continued flush. I'd like to see the market get oversold for a dip buy, but I'm not going to assume that's going to be the case here. We could gap up tomorrow, rally tomorrow, and then be right back down Thursday. So again, be careful with this market here. I think once OPEX is over with, it'll be a little bit more clear here. I'm still in the camp that we should get some type of I would think at least a 450 test, maybe 452 so at some point in the near term. Again, we thought that could be today, but China kind of rained on that parade. Futures were down pretty sharply. And again, we kind of went gap and go to the downside, and then just a pin job throughout the day. By the way, where is that pin on the SPX? It's 44.50. So kind of a whole round number. That's where the 0DT gamma has been sitting all day. And look at it. That coincides pretty much perfectly with that 50-day moving average there, 44.46 there on the 50 MA SPX. And again, you can see the same trend line obviously coinciding with this level here. We could just do this if we really want to. They're both getting hit though. But either way, there's the closing bell. So spiders kind of coming in, and there's the SPX coming into that 44.50 area. Again, could we go down to 4,400? It's certainly possible, but there is still a lot of daily chart support there. So I'm favoring here in the near term still that risk reward is kind of to the upside. Even if we flush down a little bit, I would like a flush down tomorrow. that could possibly get you a dip buy for a move. I definitely think that's possible, but again, you still got to be careful with OpEx week. But nice little dump there towards the end of the day, and we closed kind of near the lows of the day there, right off of that trend line there. If we look back on the spiders, look at where they closed it, right on that trend line and below the 50 moving average. So that's another thing here to talk about. We're below the 50 moving average on these spiders since March 28th. So interesting little price action there for the SPY, and we'll see what kind of price action we get. My guess is there's kind of two ways I see this. I think we either come up here and you have a robust move, and then you can take out the high. If that doesn't happen and we don't get above this, we don't fill this gap, I think the highs for the year are in. That might sound like a bold call, but if you think about it, you're going into September, October, November. The NASDAQ triple Qs were up, I think 45% at one point this year. Is a 10% correction that much to ask for? 10, 15% even? Going into the fall, let's say we bottom in October or November, let's say you come down to 415, 420, 410, a bounce into the end of the year is going to be what, 5%? So I think if you don't make for bulls here, you need to make a new high now, like in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, you're probably topped out for the year. Additionally, even if we do make a new nominal high, we still have a lot of resistance up here at 463, 464, as well as all this chop here in this zone. So, you could come up, make a new nominal high, and then still come back in towards September. That's certainly possible here. But for this week, again, we'll just look for that little pivot point when we get it. Whether that's at 438, 440, remains to be seen. Or maybe we just push up tomorrow. Maybe that trend line is enough. Usually the third hit of a trend line is enough to get you one more bounce. But I'm in the camp, as you guys are probably aware, that we're probably going to put in a lower high. But for right now, market's holding that trend line. It'll be interesting to see how that trades tomorrow, and it's going to be interesting. Remember, VIX expiration is tomorrow too, and the VIX has been holding up nicely. So again, we'll see how that plays out going into the end of the week. But obviously, those are the levels. VIX up 10.5% today. Interesting. But anyways, Qs here down 1%. Would have been down a lot more if it wasn't for NVIDIA. That continued to get a bounce. I think they're using, this is just my guess here, NVIDIA getting a bid obviously yesterday and then stalled out at 450. Probably gets pinned to right around 450 area into Friday. It looks to me like they're using this to keep the Qs propped up while they were kind of selling off a lot of other things. So you still have NVIDIA and kind of like Meta still holding up, although Meta was red today, but even Tesla, that looks gassed. I've been talking about 220, 225. I think that gets there maybe even tomorrow. But some of these other names on the softer side, Apple, that's still daily bear flag. So weakness there in Apple. Microsoft perked up a little bit this morning, but finished inside day here. So again, it looks to me like NVIDIA is still kind of the crowning jewel. That's kind of what they're using to kind of keep the market from coming down while they distribute other shares. But it did reject the 20 moving average. One thing that's interesting too is this looks a lot like 2021 with that big thrust up, down move, big rebound week, and then it rolled back over here. They have earnings coming up soon. I'm very interested to see what they say during that. I think the AI trade is kind of fatigued here, and TSM, Qualcomm, all those big players have pretty much confirmed that there's no demand for those AI chips, at least not what the market priced in with this big move last quarter. But anyways, Qs here coming in. We confirmed below the 50 moving average, and we back tested the 50 moving average yesterday and today, and got to move off of that. So we'll see. There's still a lot of support around 360. If I throw some other trend lines on here, you can see right here a little bit of a channel there. So that kind of lines up with this area here. We came down, pivoted. Maybe we can go. If we gap down tomorrow, for instance, if we get continued momentum to the downside in the overnight off of that little late day sell, you probably get into this area and maybe you can get a bounce off of that. But triple Qs here, obviously coming in with everything else, and I think NVIDIA is kind of that last big horse there. IWM was a little surprised. They had a nice bullish reversal candle yesterday, cutting through the 50 and then coming back up, and now it's still into that support area. So you got this breakout area, 188 and change. So we'll see how that holds up tomorrow. I mean, that's not the worst area of support here. On the weekly, we don't like how you closed below 191.14 last week. But again, you still have a lot of, you can even say this is weekly chart support in this area. Got a little extended from the 20 moving average, so no real problems right now, but definitely on the softer side. And I definitely don't like how you lost that 50 moving average there after that nice reversal candle yesterday. So keep an eye on the Russell here. Dow finally a little outside candle. You can make a case now that you have a high, a pivot, a lower high, and now a lower low. So Dow is starting to downtrend just a little bit here. That's obviously the last one. We talk about this every day. Dow should be the strongest in a corrective mode, and that's been the case. But did have an outside move down today, and can get into that 345 handle if we continue lower. And then there's the 50 moving average right in that area as well. SMH here, that was down despite NVIDIA being up. I think AMD was red on the day. A few other names. Intel was red. AMAT, yeah, KLA 10 core down 1.5%. So again, NVIDIA doing all the heavy lifting as per usual. But back testing 150. I talked about that yesterday. Said we'll see how it reacts there. A little bit of a reaction down 1.2. It's not like a death sentence. It could still come, it could flag up and push higher, into that 155 area. But it did reject that area, so we'll watch it going into tomorrow. Again, I still think they're very top heavy and still want to get down into this area here at the very least. Cloud software was holding up all day long, and then take a look at the last hour. We had that big sell with the rest of the markets. It did come nicely off the lows, down just 86 basis points here. You could make a case that this is bear flagging too. So just be aware of that. Again, that weekly level, 338.87, that's a big level to watch. We closed the week below that. This can get down to 320 pretty quickly. All right, transports. First sign of weakness in a long time, really since June 1st. We had some actual relative weakness here. So down 1.76, down 1 3/4. Again, ever since we closed below that green bar, I said it was a small negative. So it's still trending up, but a small negative there. Now we're kind of outside move down. We've got a gap right here at 15.824. Call it 15.825. And then again, 15.5, 15.6, 50 MA. Looks like it might want to get down there. Be also a little bit of a negative if we close below 16,000 on a weekly close. So that would take out this kind of breakout bar. So watch the transports here, but they should back check to this area. And again, really extended still from the 20-week moving average as well. So that's something else to keep an eye on. But short term, this is your big support level, and we'll see if and when that can get down into that area. Okay, over here to interest rates. Let's see. There we go. So there's our Bitcoin chart. Interest rates here. So 2-year, again, we talked about that a little bit in yields earlier. They did come back in. Again, I don't see any problems. Just up move, little kind of spinning top doji. This looks like it's setting up for another run at the highs. Again, you guys know 5.33 is the breaking point. Until it gets above that, markets are safe. Maybe the market's kind of getting nervous about that, getting so close so quickly. But right now, nothing terrible. Was fractionally lower here. 5s, still higher on the day. Again, that's setting up for a move to 4.5, and then the 10-year here is setting up for a move at the highs. So 4.3, 4.35. 30-year here, getting close to double top. So let me try and draw that. 4.423, sorry. High of the day here, 4.389. So very close here to double top. But I mean, it's a double top, but it's also kind of like a kind of cup and handle-ish look, right? So if we come up here, we put in one more little scoop there, that could easily break through that. Again, I get this question all the time, but I am not bullish bonds. People ask me, should we buy TLT? I'm not bullish. I'm not going to be for a while. It doesn't mean I won't get bounces here and there, but I just think fundamentally here the bond bull market's done with. So that's my thoughts there. Anyways, XHB here, again, nothing to say, right? Let's not cover this in extensively here. Still has that rounded top look there on the ITB. If anything changes, I'll let you know. It can still go higher too, believe it or not. VNQ outside move down, so that set up that bear flag ever since we closed below, and this is why I put so much emphasis on these green bars and red bar wide range bars. As soon as you close below them, it's a big negative, right? It takes a lot of energy to get below that. But as soon as we did that, we started bear flagging, and now down move here, down 1.12. That's a big move for VNQ. It's probably going to get down to 80. That could even be a little bit of a buy level, potentially. But VNQ definitely on the weaker side, like everything else. XLF, outside move down. There was a lot of talk this morning about Moody's downgrading banks. I think Fitch did it today. Moody's was last week. They didn't really tell us anything new, but it was an excuse to sell. Down almost 2% on the day again. That's a big move for XLF. Into the 50, into the 200. This is not broken. It's still not broken yet. It can still, believe it or not, get up to 36, 36.25. If you close the week below 34.21, there's our green bar low. Just keep an eye on that. That gets very, very much less likely though. So let's just be aware of that. You lose that weekly inside bar look. In fact, I'll just draw it in so we don't forget, because I'm going to say it every single day for the next 3 days. But watch that level into the end of the week. If that holds, it's still okay. If that breaks down, I'd say it's very, very much less likely that 36.25 gets hit, but it's still okay for now. So we'll leave it at that. KRE, still okay, still not broken. Again, I'd probably prefer to hold 44.50. There's your kind of weekly green bar. I don't think that's as powerful as the XLF one. But this level is important. So you don't want to lose 44.50, 44. It's still safe for now, but if we lose that, then it's probably game over. KBE, again, this one's in a little bit better shape here than both of those. This has a lot farther to fall though, to break down. And I'd say below 38, even I'd just say 37.50 on a weekly close cooks this thing. But for right now, it's still okay. You could make a case though. You got a 50-week moving average rejection, so just be aware of that. And then broker dealers here lower, with everything else here down 1 3/4. Again, into the 50 moving average. We pierce this trend line here. We'll see how that responds. That should be into some short-term support. It is a little oversold here, but again, it's also macro overbought. About broker dealers coming in with the rest of the market. On to commodities here. Crude coming in as well, down 1.8%. Again, China demand slipping. That's going to be kind of the story there. I don't think that's really the story with crude here. The SPR, we can get into that. We can get a lot of other things about the fundamentals with crude. But again, you're getting it right. It was overbought. I said it probably needs to pull back. 7 weeks up in a row. Little doji there into resistance. Probably needs to do some backing and filling anyway. It's funny, the charts dictate the news. Price dictates narrative. And crude pulling back to the 20 moving average. I don't see any problems. This can still go down to 77, 76 and still be okay. Just be back testing this breakout area. But it is pulling back right now. And again, we'll respect it. XLE pulling back as well, down 2% on the day. Again, it had a nice little thrust here. It's a little overbought. Might just be checking back to the 20 moving average. But I don't see any issues here with XLE. XOP overbought. That had an outside move. So a little bit of an island there. Now this one was way more overbought than XLE. But it's, again, still holding the 20, right? It hasn't even tested the 20 yet. It is extended on the weekly and was into resistance. So again, expect things to pull back when they get overbought. It's really, I'm not saying anything new here. OIH pulling back as well. That still has, I think upside to this 100-week moving average. But again, just kind of stalling out a little bit here. And that is at 367.95 right now. That's a monthly, by the way. So 100-month moving average, not week. That's a big moving average. But again, pulling back a little bit here. You lose this green bar there. Could be a sign of weakness because you have kind of an air pocket, but this is still strong. So again, OIH pulling back. Anyways, nat gas pulling back as well, down 4.5 here. Back into this trend line here. This should have some support around 260. So that was kind of where we broke out last week. Yeah, last week. From this kind of channel. So that probably gets tested, I would say, even tomorrow. That should be very good daily and even weekly chart support there for nat gas. But then again, doing some more backing and filling there after that $3 test from a week ago. On to the dollar index. So dollar index continuing to hold up. So again, we tested the 200 yesterday. Little hammer candle here today. Nothing terrible, right? Again, like we said a week or two ago, when it got to 102.56, so if this flags, it could be telling us it wants to go through that. It did. It's only one day, but this could set up another flag. and then you can go through that. There is a lot of resistance. You got, you were here for, let's go to a weekly. So you're in this area here for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So it may take that long to consolidate to get through that, unless it's a really powerful move that pushes it through. But again, so far, no rejection at the 200, really just a pause. And that's not bearish for the dollar right now, but it probably does need to do some backing, filling, and flagging if it is going to move higher. Gold here, getting a little bit of a bounce off the lows, down 0.5%. Again, dollar's still holding up really well. I still think this wants to go to 1900. Nothing has changed there. Silver getting really oversold here, down 0.5%. Again, did come off with a tail candle just like yesterday. Maybe this gets an OPEX bid. Certainly possible. It's certainly oversold enough. This trend line doesn't even matter anymore. That flag failed. You're kind of trying to hold this little this pivot point here. I think it has one more lower high and then one more low, and then I think it's time to get in. But right now, still on the weaker side. Platinum, another lower low there. That should get down into this area. That is getting interesting here too. And then palladium, again, we talked about that little outside move on Friday. Didn't love it. Daily bear flag look, or weekly bear flag look, and a continued down move here, down 3%, basically fading that and whole move there. On palladium, still looking for that one to head lower as well. And copper, outside move down 1.75%. Should have some support at 360. You guys know I'm looking for 340. So pretty simple there. Man, I almost don't even want to cover Bitcoin here. Yeah, Bitcoin's still in still stuck in 29,000. So again, daily chart really, really choppy. Not a lot going on. Weekly chart choppy as well, but I mean that's a picture perfect inside bar, so I can't really say anything bad about it. Nothing's changed. A little bit of a sell there today though. Anyways, again, we'll watch the markets tomorrow. Watch that trend line. If we get a flush, there's still a lot of support here. This is where we chopped around pretty much throughout the month of June into early July. So there's still support there. If volume remains light, I give the market a neutral to upside bias. And again, it is OPEX week. Expect a lot of whipsaw. But I still think at some point this market does put in some type of a bounce, and we'll kind of just take it from there. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.